fit of this hire around the horn to our NFL reporter, Marcel Louis-Jacques.
I think it's a great hire for New York Jets in a vacuum. I think Aaron Glenn was one of the best candidates available. He said they were seventh in scoring on defense over the entirety of the season, but they were top three when this team was actually healthy. The fact that they were able to finish the season the way they did speaks volumes to how willing players are to play hard for Aaron Glenn. I love the hire in a vacuum, but as always with the Jets, there's more, right? There's always another problem. What are they going to do on offense? Is Aaron Rodgers going to play? Does Aaron Glenn even want Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback? How involved is Woody Johnson going to be in the day-to-day process? Is he going to give Aaron Glenn space to operate and establish his culture? That is the biggest question. Like I said, in a vacuum, great hire. I love it. This Lions defense, they allowed 30 or more points the same amount of times as they allowed 10 or fewer points this season. So, there's a lot to like about Aaron Glenn, the schematic coach. But there is always more to the New York Jets than meets the eye.
Bill Plaschke, when you think of this fit here, Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator, going to the New York Jets, how do you see it?
I don't like it. It's too. You need an offensive mind. This is an offensive game. This is an Andy Reid's game. This is Nick Sirianni's game. This is Cliff Kingsbury's game. You need an offensive mind. You saw Aaron Rodgers as a quarterback. Glenn is not an offensive coach. He's not going to run the offense. You need somebody. And defensively, his team looked terrible in the last game. I know there were injuries, but this is a hiring off of an awful game. I know he's inspirational.
Okay, I heard this yesterday. Does the shine on a coordinator go away the way they go out in the playoffs? You would say yes. Because there's examples both ways here. Frank Isola, around the horn to you. You're in New York.
Yeah, I think you look at his body of work. I love the hire from a number of standpoints. Number one, he played for the Jets. He knows the lay of the land. When he played there, Bill Belichick was a defensive coach. Bill Parcells, who he still keeps in touch with. So smart coaches always talk to coaches for ideas. So I love that part of it. But Marcel mentioned Woody Johnson. That's the thing that's going to worry me. They had Todd Bowles here, defensive guy. They had Robert Saleh. When they pulled the plug on Robert Saleh, it was too early in the season, and they ruined their season at that point. I think Aaron Glenn is going to do fine. The big question will be, is the owner going to get involved? Owners get involved on some level all the time, but that's the one thing that would concern me. Bill, you're talking about the offense. You're rattling off, Andy Reid. He's got Patrick Mahomes. Buffalo's got Josh Allen. The Jets are going to need a quarterback. That'll be the next big thing for them.
Justin Tinsley, around the horn to you.
Lord knows I don't like disagreeing with Bill Plaschke, but I got to disagree with Bill here. I understand that the Lions gave up 45 points in their last game of the season. They didn't look good. But guess what? People said the same thing about Dan Quinn when his Cowboys defense had 48 hung up on him by Green Bay a couple of years ago. And look what he's done. He's in the NFC Championship game now. So I really appreciate this hire. I actually saw an interview with Aaron Glenn the other day. He was on the Pivot, and he talked about the importance of him being a former personnel scout for the Jets and how that influenced his evolution as a coach. So he's going into this with a different lens than I think most other coaches do. So we talk about defensive coaches. What are you going to do? Well, guess what? DeMeco Ryans got C.J. Stroud year one. Dan Quinn got Jaden Daniels year one. Who's Aaron Glenn going to have at year one? Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers, or will the Jets try to make a trade up for Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders? I like the acquisition. Just keep Madden away from Woody Johnson, and I think he should be fine.
Marcel Louis-Jacques back in.
Yeah, and also, Andy Reid, when you look at the Chiefs over the past 2 years, they're not an offensive-heavy team. They have shifted to a defensive-minded football team. They're one of the best defenses in football the past few years. Philadelphia Eagles, best defense in football this year. Defense still wins championships. Offense and, post Sean McVay Rams run, offense has been the darling of the league. But, defense still gets you a Super Bowl title.
Let's not give you the last word on this.
Is it a cheap shot to say that Aaron Glenn was one of the defensive backs on Dan Marino's fake spike?
Yes, it's absolutely a cheap shot to say that. I appreciate you playing Remember When. I love the nostalgia. Glenn actually, we'll see the play right here. Glenn actually moving a little bit on this play. Some other Jets were kind of, I like to Remember When, Bill Plaschke, but that's a cheap shot.
Thank you.
Thank you, he says. Let's go deeper on this from the Detroit Lions' perspective. They've lost both coordinators now. You've seen that before. For teams, the Eagles 2 years ago is an example. There's kind of a mixed bag in how teams have recovered from that in the previous 5 instances. But it's also true that Dan Campbell, on his exit press conference interview yesterday, went to the microphone and said this team will come back better. And the Super Bowl window is absolutely open. The core group is still intact. Frank Isola, do you agree the Lions window is absolutely open?
I think it is. It is very difficult to lose two outstanding coaches, which they had. But I agree with them. The core group is still there. And remember, in the playoffs, they were somewhat banged up. You also wonder, and this happens all the time with a lot of teams, they had two high-profile coordinators who were being courted by so many different teams. You wonder how much that impacts you during the playoffs and during preparation. It's only natural to be thinking about your next job. I'm not saying they did, but in the back of your mind, it had to have been going on. And sure enough, within a week, they're both gone. But I do think that the Detroit Lions still have enough there. Let's face it, guys, you got to catch breaks along the way. You need your team to stay healthy, and that was not the case at the end of the season for
Justin
the Detroit Lions.
Tinsley on losing two coordinators and what it means for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, about this whole window thing. So this season, Tony, the window was like wide open. It was 90 degrees. You had the fan on full blast. You're trying to get the air in. Now, after losing two great coordinators, it's kind of like it's 70 degrees out there. You know it's going to get chilly a little later, and the window will close. But I think the Lions are looking at this. It all comes down to how do they fill out their coaching positions, and not just offensive and defensive coordinators. Who do you put in position coaches? What do you do with that?
Right.
Can they shore up the pass defense? Can they get Aiden Hutchinson a running mate on that defensive line? If they can do that, then I expect them to be near the very top of the NFC next year because they have a lot of great players returning.
Marcel Louis-Jacques.
Yeah, I mean, they've known throughout the year that they're probably going to lose their coordinators. So that's not a surprise for them. But can they keep the assistants? Like, what are Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn? Who are they going to take with them to Chicago and to New York? That's where like the scales could tip because the Lions need to keep a culture in place. Dan Campbell has already come out and said that he would like to hire internally, maybe a guy like Kelvin Shepard for defensive coordinator, but he could also very well follow Aaron Glenn to New York. So that's the most important thing, but they are set for the future. Their core is locked up or on rookie deals. They've got some cap space, like they've got playoff experience now. It's a matter of can the new offensive guy maybe get as much out of Jared Goff as Ben Johnson did, remains to be seen. But if they can keep internal pieces in play, then yeah, their window is still
Internal
open.
coaching pieces.
Not wide, but it's open.
Because Terrell Williams is now the defensive coordinator of the New England Patriots. That's one on staff that has already moved on. Bill Plaschke, around the horn to you on losing two coordinators, how a team responds, and whether you think Detroit's window is still absolutely open.
Well, only a handful of teams have ever lost both coordinators in the offseason, and most of those teams did worse than the next year. And look at the Eagles last year. They lost both coordinators, and they fell apart at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. I think it does not bode well for the Lions, and especially for Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a very precious commodity. He needs to be handled just the right way, and Ben Johnson handled him perfectly. I don't think Dan Campbell has much to do with Jared Goff. He needs a guy. He needs a quarterback whisperer, and I don't think they can get that in there. And Goff is the whole team. I mean, that Goff is the quarterback is your team. Your quarterback, they got to have the quarterback, and the reason they're successful is because of Goff. And I worry that they lose that connection now with Johnson. I think the window's closing.
Frank Isola back in.
Fast.
I mean, come on, Bill. The one thing about Jared Goff, though, I mean, think about the experience he has right now. You're making it seem like Ben Johnson's gone and he's never going to get back to maybe an NFC title game. He did that last year. He's been to a Super Bowl with the Rams. Again, it comes down to the players. I think they'll be able to fill out that staff. That core group is still young enough. Absolutely.
Last word, Marcel Louis-Jacques.
David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are still in place, right? Like Brian Branch is still in place. Aiden Hutchinson is still there.
On a rookie deal.
I think they're on rookie deal. Like I think their window is still open, but it's a Jared Goff size window, not a Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes size window. You got to keep perspective in mind.
Around the horn on vacuums and windows. We'll be back with
You'll have a worse
better landscaping and homes and buy or sell.
A lot of house cleaning.
Around the
Welcome back to Around the Horn, coming to you from the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17.
Baseball Hall of Fame announcement. I look forward to this conversation every year. Ichiro, one vote short of unanimous. CC Sabathia, in. Billy Wagner, in. Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, close but no. And further down, doors still locked for Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez. Bill Plaschke, around the horn to you. Did the voters get it right?
One voter got it really wrong. How could Ichiro not be unanimous? That's unbelievable. He's the greatest hitter ever, Tony. Combine his hits from Japan and the U.S., and he has more hits than Pete Rose. He 262 hits, the most hits in one season. 10 straight seasons, 200-plus hits. 10 straight Gold Gloves. And more than that, he paved the way for the team I cover now, for the Otanis of the world, for the Yamamotos of the world. He paved the way for the Japanese player. He wasn't the first one. He was the first great one.
So you think he should be unanimous? You know, there's a long history of Babe Ruth not being unanimous, although we have seen it with Mariano Rivera. Marcel Louis-Jacques, please.
Yeah, it's up to Baseball Hall of Fame voters to determine whether or not they want their vote publicized. I would just love to hear your explanation. I'm not even mad at you. I just want to know, like, maybe I'm missing something. Because what more did you want Ichiro to do to warrant a Hall of Fame vote? This guy didn't even join the MLB until he was 27 and still cranked out 3,000 career hits, man. Like, I don't know what else could have been done. The one glaring miss, though, and, you know, our good friend Harry Lyles almost booked a flight here to be able to say this in studio. Where is Andrew Jones, man? 10-time Gold Glove winner, only getting 66% of the vote right now. He's got 2 more years to get in, but please do the right thing here, voters.
Justin Tinsley.
Yeah, I'm just going to pile on. Like, Ichiro led an entire decade in hits. Like, Bill said it earlier, like 10 straight seasons of 200-plus hits. Nobody in MLB history has ever done that. But again, yes, I'm of the Andrew Jones brigade as well. One of 6 players to ever win 10 Gold Gloves. Ichiro's another one. This is the best defensive center fielder of all time. Show that man some respect.
I said this on the stage too. I'm with you guys, you know, and I heard not everybody talks about Gary Gaetti say it this way. It's like having Ozzie Smith, but 15 times the home runs, because that's the type of fielder he was. Frank Isola, around the horn to you.
You know, I get Derek Jeter falling 1 vote shy of being unanimous. People like Bill Plaschke, they don't like New York, the pinstripes, the whole thing, I get it. How you leaving Ichiro off your ballot?
I didn't vote.
You cannot make a case for that. But if you're going to put CeCe Sabathia and you're going to put Billy Wagner in, explain to me how Curt Schilling didn't get in. When you think about the 3 of them, I can name about 5 or 6 big spots where Curt Schilling in the playoffs in the postseason was lights out. I get it. They're in. Where's Curt Schilling?
Buy or sell too. Don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in the bleeping sport. Dan Hurley said it. Have you ever seen a coach say it in the middle of a game to a referee? UConn did pull off an overtime win over Butler. Here's Hurley after the game.
You know, I've created this for myself. I'm not no victim. I just wish they would show these other coaches losing their minds at the officials in other Big East games that I'm coaching, where I look going into a timeout when I'm not talking to officials. I see the other coaches as demonstrative as I am.
There we go. Marcel, buy or sell Hurley there.
Dude, just stand on it. Like, I love him saying that. He's not wrong. He is the best coach in the freaking sport right now. But stand on business, Dan. Don't come back talking about, I just wish that other guys were on camera as much as I do. You ruined all the juice you just got by standing on it in front of the ref. I just wish you would have kept that energy in front of a microphone.
Justin Tinsley.
This man really got in front of a microphone and said, them over there, officer, they're guilty as well. Like, come on, dude. You can't be the king of the hill, and you are the king of the hill. You can't be the king of the hill and then complain when it's all eyes on you. I just don't like it. It's very self-serving.
Frank Isola.
Rick Pitino can make a pretty compelling case that he's the best coach in college basketball. Won national championships at 2 different schools in Kentucky. Here's my thing about what Hurley said. You know, when you talk about combative, cocky bullies, that's basically every coach, or a lot of coaches in college basketball. That's the dog bites man story of college basketball. My only thing with Hurley, and I've known him for a long time, just be careful. He's coming very close to crossing that line. You don't want to see a Bob Knight situation or even a Woody Hayes situation. He sometimes can get a little over the top.
Plaschke.
I love Hurley. It would have been so much fun to cover him if he coached the Lakers. I wish he was here. He's such a great character, and he understands that college basketball is about the coaches. The coaches are the front faces of college basketball. None of the players were stars. It's all about the coaches. He's taking on the mantle. And again, I wish he wouldn't complain about being so publicized, because he brings it on himself. But I love his swagger. I love his fight. His team has the same
thing. So is it okay for him
win.
to say, don't turn your back on me, to a referee? That's what I'm getting to. I know you guys focus more on the podium.
Yes, I love that.
Marcel, is it okay for him to say that? Justin, is it okay for him to say that?
Yeah,
Sure.
and my biggest issue with it, though, is that his attitude has rubbed off on his little brother who coaches the team at my alma
not his
mater.
little brother.
I wish
Not
that
little
his
brother.
tactics.
Bobby's the older brother. Danny's Daniel.
older,
happens
my
to be
bad,
the younger
brother.
Okay. Because on the scale, this is somewhere between "Do you know who I am?" and PDW's "Who do you think you are? I am." I mean, there's something very poetic
There is
about
no
saying it, but
PDW.
to a referee. We'll move on. Buy or sell 3, a tweak the ACC football is considering. Conference championship format. Regular season champions exempt from playing another game, so no championship game for champions. And then the final game would be between 2 and 3 in the conference. Justin, I'm looking at your face right now. You seem perplexed. Please, buy or sell this.
This is very triggering for me. It reminds me of senior year calculus, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I don't know what the hell is going on here. This is a conference that had its heart broke years ago, and they have not gotten over it. It's pretty sad.
Well, they had 2 teams in the playoff this year. This is to strengthen the chances of the playoff looking favorably on the
Sounds
conference.
like grifting.
Frank, buy or sell it.
Yeah, I give Bill Plaschke a lot of credit. He's been beating in my head, get rid of these conference championship games. And guess what? Notre Dame and Ohio State played in the national championship game. They didn't have to play in a conference championship game. Things are a complete waste of time, and the ACC is nuts to even think of something like
Plaschke?
that.
And the ACC is making a mockery. They're trying to make a point. They're trying to show what a sham these conference championship games are, and they are a sham. They're dumb. They're a joke. Get rid of them. They're a money grab. With a 12-team playoff, you don't need them.
Marcel Louis-Jacques.
Yeah, I wish I had more to add here, but I fundamentally do not understand this. For even the 4-team conference championship playoff, it's just adding more games onto these players' schedules. Like, that's inevitably going to lead to more injuries. And then in the case where the number 1 team doesn't play in the conference side, then who the hell wins the championship between the 2 and the 3? Like, it doesn't make any sense. You're just saying things to say them at this point.
Maybe nobody knows what it means. Maybe it just gets the people going. It's provocative. Maybe that's what they go. Marcel, thank you. Bill Plaschke. Don't go too far, Bill. I want to talk to you after our FaceTime today. I want to get an update after your wonderful column last week. Justin Tinsley, Frank Isola. That'll be our showdown next. Ben Johnson's intro press conference with the Chicago Bears.
Dane Campbell, Kevin O'Connell. You're talking about 2 guys that are up for Coach of the Year awards. And to be quite frank with you, I kind of enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year.
Justin Tinsley is interdivision coaching trash talk-wise before you coach even game 1.
That was a funny smirk, but this is a franchise that had to live with Aaron Rodgers telling them, I own you for the better part of 2 decades. So I'm not mad at the energy that Ben is bringing, but you better live up
Frank
to it.
Isola?
He's wrong, but the Chicago media is wrong. Lighten up a little bit. Courtney, Cronin, Waddle, and Sylvie, can you laugh at the guy's joke? Throw him a bone for crying out loud.
No.
It's his
Frank,
first press
be
conference.
serious. You're sitting in that front row. You're giving a belly laugh to that?
Oh, great. Yeah, absolutely. I'm leaning back.
Showdown 2, why we love sports. You see something you never see every night. Cheese, nacho, distraction. Corey Perry had an Oilers goal last night. Look at Caps goalie Logan Thompson. He was pointing at something. He was distracted by cheese nachos on the ice. Of course, there's a rule for interference about objects thrown on ice. Frank, are you calling nacho interference here?
Absolutely, I am. Old man yells at the cloud. It's a safety hazard. The fan should be kicked out, and it's no goal. End of story.
Justin?
There's literally nachos on the ice. Of course you have to call that. But honestly, I'm a penny pincher. I'm looking at those nachos. I'm like, those are probably $18 nachos somebody just wasted.
You're a penny pit. You're Scrooge McDuck over here. Yeah.
Scrooge McDuck.
Diving into
Call me
those
that.
cheese nachos, though, Tins.
Yes, sir.
Take the FaceTime.
Yeah, here's the cool thing sports can do. Bills Mafia has donated over $60,000 to Breakthrough T1D. This is a charity organization geared towards type 1 diabetes, which Mark Andrews, who dropped that 2-point conversion, had. Really dope gesture. Salute to them for that.
Bills Mafia gets that right. Time for one more, Bill. Bill Plaschke, your column in the LA Times last week touched us all on the unbearable guilt of losing nothing and then losing everything in these fires. Can you please give us an update?
It's still a mess, Tony. I'd like to say it's a bit better. The neighborhood is still uninhabitable. Nobody can go back. It's a hellscape every day. I'm sorry. It's a tough question. It's moving slow. The rebuild is moving very slowly.
And
right?
your town, your village of Altadena, do we believe the community is going to come back?
I hope so, Tony. I hope so. Altadena is a great place. I want to live there forever.